What's up guys, this is Miasin and today we'll be going over a bunch of really interesting board breakers and tech cards that you can incorporate in your deck to maybe have an edge over the rest of the metagame and the people who just, net deck from other people and don't really think outside the box. But yeah, before we go any further, you already know the drill. As always, smash the like and subscribe button. It's the only way I can keep making videos like these. And also a huge massive shout outs to my Crystron spreadsheet. If you haven't checked it out before, here is the promo. So just in case you didn't know much before, the spreadsheet has absolutely all the info you need if you are planning on building the Crystron deck, which is the best deck that is coming out of Supreme Darkness. My spreadsheet features visual support, which includes images and videos while being easy to understand, regardless of whether or not you had prior experience with the deck. It comes with 50 combos that show the most optimal lines when you are interrupted, but also through hand traps such as Ash, Imperm, every Molchemy monster, Dimension Shifter, as well as Artifact Lancia. Best part is, every combo comes with their own notes so that you can understand what's going on. This spreadsheet also comes with a YCS ready decklist containing my in-depth reasoning on every card and ratio so that you don't get confused and know exactly what to buy. And if you ever encountered issues with siding patterns, I got you because I also cover going first and going second siding patterns against 15 decks of the metagame. This spreadsheet also covers some alternative techs and engines that could be worth exploring the deck, as well as their pros and cons. Having access to the spreadsheet also grants you access to an ever-growing Discord community of like-minded Crystron players, and also access to me, where I can answer specific questions and share updates with you. Speaking of updates, I'm even willing to add additional sections and combos to the spreadsheet if I'm asked to, and you won't have to pay again to benefit off of these updates. I'll be fully honest with you, if you're interested in Crystron, the spreadsheet will not only save you hundreds of hours of theory and practice, but also a lot of money. You won't have to make unnecessary purchases since you'll already have access to an optimal deck list, and you're not gonna have to spend your days and nights coming up with combos. Also, every time you forget about a combo, you can just go back to the spreadsheet and check it out to refresh your memory. If you're interested in the spreadsheet, all you have to do is PayPal me $20 US, and make sure to state your Gmail account in the transfer so that I know who to share the spreadsheet with. If you forgot to state your Gmail in the transfer, don't worry, just email me a proof of payment with your Gmail, and I'll share the spreadsheet with you as soon as I can. Unless I'm sleeping, I should never take too long to grant you access to the spreadsheet, so don't worry about the delay. The specs of the spreadsheet alongside all the steps to buy it are at the top of the description, so please check it out as soon as you can. Anyways, with that said, let's get on with the video. Alright, absolutely gorgeous, but anyways, let's get right into it. So the first card that I wanted to review is Murmur of the Forest. It is a very underrated card that actually has been considered by a bunch of pro players in the past, especially when Mystic Mine used to be a thing, just because this card is a board breaker, but also a little bit more than that. So it is a normal spell card, and it reads, target one face-up monster upon controls, change that target to face-down defense position, then you can return all field spell cards on the field to the hand, which includes your opponent's field spells and your own field spell. Okay, so this is actually quite interesting against Raziel, because you can Book of Moon the Raziel Detonator, which at the very least forces your opponent to self-destruct so that you can bounce back the Raziel Cross after that. So it's kind of similar to Ultimate Slayer, where it is a 2-in-1 package deal, and I do like cards like that a lot. So just in case you are under something like Abyss Dweller, Ultimate Slayer into Aggregator might just not be the play. And also, Ultimate Slayer, you can argue that the card's only really good if you have a lot of, extra deck space to dedicate for it. Whereas Murmur of the Forest, it's really simple. You just play it in your side deck, and then you can always play it going second against a bunch of decks, honestly, that play a really oppressive field spell. So, for example, against Flunderies, Ultimate Slayer would be completely useless, whereas Murmur of the Forest can be really good. So you can Book of Moon the Empen, and then bounce back the Flunderies and the Magnificent Map to the hand, and then you're free to normal summon, and you only really have to worry about the trap card. It's kind of just an issue that they always surge the trap card. Otherwise, this would have been like a much more reliable strategy. But if people eventually play more oppressive field spells like Necro Valley, I was gonna say Secret Village of the Spellcasters, but that one doesn't really count because Murmur of the Forest won't even be activatable. Necro Valley could be a decent idea of like a really oppressive field spell. And also like Orchestrated Babel, if your opponent summons like a Caesar and Babel with like the Orchis setup, not only do you book the Caesar face down, but also the Orchis field spell goes back to the hand. So when Orchis Fiendsmith is going to be a thing, maybe Murmur of the Forest could be a much better card. But then again, they have Orchestrated Crescendo to negate it. With that being said, even though Murmur of the Forest is a negatable card, it has the potential to be broken one day. And honestly, I think this is the kind of card that you really should buy 3 copies now if it's cheap, because if it's cheap and it ends up being good one day, you will be so happy that you have access to it, because it's such an old and like obscure card that you'd rather have it sooner than later. Not to mention that I didn't really fully cover what you can really do with Murmur of the Forest. It's a little deeper than that, because since you can bounce back your own field spells to the hand, you can also abuse field spells that are not hard once per turn. So for example, you go Chicken Game, you draw a card, and then you go Murmur of the Forest, bounce Book of Moon, an opponent's monster, and then bounce back your own Chicken Game, and then activate Chicken Game again, and then draw another card. That's freaking awesome. So the fact that there's like small little interactions like that allow this card to be a little better, that's also, you know, much better. Same thing with Runic Fountain, this card. It's only like a soft once per turn to like draw up to 3 cards by shuffling back your Runic cards, so that if you can reset the Runic Fountain and then activate it again, you can keep drawing more cards. Same thing with Dragon Ravine. If you're playing a Dragon deck, you can just Dragon Ravine again and again, and then Rika Concon. You can only set once per turn. However, you can use the second effect to like tribute an opponent's monster, you know, to activate a Rika card or effect, so that's also really broken. Draconic Diagram, another once per turn effect to search, not that it really matters. And then, you know, Spiral Resort, another once per turn effect to search a Spiral monster. And also Trickstar Light Stage, another once per turn, not only to snipe an opponent's back row, but also, you know, a soft once per turn to search a Trickstar monster. So yeah, you can use Light Stage over and over to search multiple Trickstar cards. So the fact that Murmur of the Forest can almost like increase the ceiling of your deck, and like the consistency in a way, is kind of cool. And also with Lair of Darkness, it is a once per turn that is soft to tribute an opponent's monster, very similarly to Rika Concon. So yeah, I'm not really saying that Murmur of the Forest is like the revolutionary card of the format, but I am saying that it has a lot of untapped potential, and it is just a matter of time before it becomes fantastic. Next up is a card that actually did see a little play this format, and it does have the potential to be an extremely good board breaker against Malice, and it is Burial from a Different Dimension. Very obscure card again, it is a quickly spell card, and it reads target up to 3 banished monsters, return them to the graveyard. So it's up to 3, so you have a lot of flexibility. It is a quick play spell, obviously, and then you can also return back your own banished monsters to the grave. This is really good if you get shifted, and then, you know, all of your resources, they keep getting banished, and you don't really like that, so you want to go Burial to like put them back in the graveyard. If you're playing Crystron, and then you have Burial from a Different Dimension, and you get shifted, this card is insanity. Like, you can go Sulphur Hole to like banish, well, send/banish, you know, both Smyger and then, you know, like Theistvern or something, and then you go Burial, return them back to the grave, and then use like Smyger to search the spell, and then search the trap, and then, you know, Theistvern, search the Tristalos, and then normal summon, Synchro, and then play from there. You can do so many things. You can almost like full combo under Shifter with a card like Burial from a Different Dimension. It's really interesting, so it's flexible for going first and second, because the real goal of this card, really, is to use it going second against the Malice deck. So, you know, what they do is that they can go, you know, a Bestial or GWC to try to, you know, revive back, well, rather, they will be banishing the White Binder off of a Bestial or revive back off of White Binder, and then they go White Binder effect to banish a bunch of their own Malice cards. And then you can chain Burial from a Different Dimension to all return them back to the graveyard, so your opponent has to pay the life points, but he doesn't summon back anything because it's treated as a different monster. So you can interrupt like the summon of Hearts of Cryptor, you can interrupt the summon of White Rabbit so that your opponent doesn't get to set the MTP07 to banish a card on your field, and this can really be oppressive, shockingly enough. However, another card that is a little more niche but also technically more powerful in this context, depending on the situation, would be Pot of Acquisitiveness. So very similar to Burial of the from a Different Dimension, this is a quickly spell, and it reads target 3 banished monsters this time, not up to 3. Shuffle all 3 into the deck and then draw 1 card, and it can be 3 of your opponent's banished monsters, just like Burial from a Different Dimension. So yeah, the main difference is that, again, it's not up to 3 monsters, it really has to be 3, so if your opponent only has like 2 banished monsters, Pot of Acquisitiveness unfortunately is useless, whereas Burial from a Different Dimension is always useful. But the one advantage that Pot of Acquisitiveness has is that it makes you draw a card, which at this point I'd rather want to have, like, you know, the dual utility of not only beating Shifter, having more resources, but also being able to return back up to 3 banished monsters. I think because of that, Burial from a Different Dimension is much better. However, Pot of Acquisitiveness, I will have to give credit to this card. This card used to be incredibly good in the Burning Abyss mirror match back in the days, when you were using Ghost Reaper to snipe all 3 copies of your opponent's Dante. The only way you could win the mirror after that was by resolving Pot of Acquisitiveness, shuffle back your 3 Dantes, and then draw a card. So you're using a card to make you recover from the God card that your opponent used against you, because Ghost Reaper in the Burning Abyss mirror, it was Exodia. It was arguably better than Maxi, which is crazy because Maxi was unfair, but Ghost Reaper was arguably even better because without Dante, it also means you don't have Beatrice. And in a world where people play 3 Beatrice, 3 Dante, you're losing 6 cards from your extra deck. in a deck where the main goal is to grind, so you have a limited amount of resources without these cards, and Pot of Acquisitiveness allowed you to actually fix that issue. So in a world where people might play Ghost Reaper again, or if they can banish like 3 monsters very specifically every single time, this card could become fantastic for you. And then Foolish Return is also a card that is somewhat similar. It did see play back in 2020. YCS Hartford, I believe, Hani played it. No, sorry, 2022. Hani played this in his side deck. It was pretty good against Despia. When they go branded in red, try to revive back something, maybe like Trabigate Mercurier so that they can make Guardian Chimera, and then you can chain Foolish Return. You know, DD Crew has always been an option. Bestials weren't a thing yet, if I recall correctly. And Foolish Return was good because you weren't banishing anything, so you weren't triggering the effect of Mercurier. And that was, you know, that was something that could actually help you out. But I think that this card is strictly worse than Pot of Acquisitiveness and Burial from a Different Dimension against Malice. And also do keep in mind that this card is once per turn, whereas both of these cards are not once per turn. However, I would rate Burial from a Different Dimension as being the best board breaker against Malice if you also want a card that doubles down as a good going first card. But in the Malice Mirror Match, there's obviously other options like Metal Tronus that are extremely broken because you're banishing face down, and you always play the monster that you're trying to hit with Metal Tronus, you know? Your opponent has Malice Dormouse, and then you just summon Dormouse and banish both face down. It's basically a turn skip for Malice because the deck doesn't really have a super high ceiling. And Murmur of the Forest, I'm just gonna have to repeat myself again, it is a really good card. I can't recommend it enough. Again, I at least can't recommend buying the card enough. But again, like, nothing forces you to play the card right now. Just keep in mind that it has a lot of really awesome interactions, and the fact that you can bounce back your field spells and use them again is the main important thing about this card. But yeah, you guys let me know how you feel about these cards in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.